I'm sitting here with Betty McGillivary. She is a member of Muscogee First Nation, and she's going to share with us her history of living out here and some of her family history that some of us might not be familiar with. Welcome, Betty.
Thank you.
Introduce yourself.
Okay, I'm Betty McGillivary, and I've been a member of Muscadet for since I was 26. I used to be in Opaskwayak, but I transferred here because I spent most of my life here.
Mm-hmm.
I felt more comfortable and closer to my family on Muscadet. So, yeah.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about your family. Who are your mom and dad, your grandparents, and your great grandparents?
Okay, my mom was Eleanor Bear. She used to be a deeder, and my dad's Ronald McGillivary. He's from Opaskwayak, and my mom used to live in Belcaris, South Hills, or Peepekeesis Reserve. That's where that side of the family's from. But my grandmother, Edna, she was Edna Dieter, and then she married old Bob Bear, who was related to, that's the old Bear family. His mom, my great grandfather, remarried Austin Bear's mom. So, because my great grandmother passed away, Mary Bell, when my grandfather was 8. So I never got to know her, never really at all. But I knew my great grandfather and that. But yeah, that's where the Bear family comes in. It was when my mom married, or my grandmother married old Bob Bear. I'm sure everybody knows him. He's got everybody knows his funny stories. So from the Birch Hills bar and that.
Oh.
Yeah, I can see. My grandmother used to have to go and get him all the time, haul him out.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, he was kind of like, it kind of reminded me of what's that show? All in the Family. Do you remember that show?
The Archie Bunker?
Archie Bunker and Edith. Yeah, that's those two.
Bye, girl.
See ya. Anyways, that's yeah. So basically, there's kind of like a break in that family after my great grandmother died, and my great grandfather married Lena, Austin's mom, and that family's mother. So yeah, so that's where that came in.
Wow.
Yeah, and yeah, so that's my grandmother was from Peepekeesis too. So I got quite a big family history, it's like anybody else, because from other reserves kind of plays into our reserve. So yeah, and so because I've got a lot of cousins here, and all the Bears, mostly the Bears, and I think I'm even related to Dolores Bear. There is some history there because of John Bear, deceased John Bear was my uncle. That was my grandfather's brother. So, and that, but there's kind of a resemblance there, and that because he kind of looks like my grandfather. But that's Bobby as far as it goes, because he's more at the darker side, and the rest of them are fair skinned because of Lena's her side of the family was lighter. So, and my grandfather was dark. Yeah. So, but everybody kind of wonders where that came to play. Yeah. So that's where that came in because my grandfather remarried. But I remember him he used to live in the homestead up on the hill on South Hill Drive, and I remember my grandfather lived down by the river. You know where Daniel lives now, Austin's son.
Yep.
Where Mary used to live in that trailer, but there used to be an old house there, and I remember that's where Lena and my grandfather lived, and I remember watching him come up the hill. So we'd go meet him. He always had mints in his pocket for us. And then he'd come and visit us all the time. And then he had this little dog that came with him. I can't remember his name, but he was like Mr. Magoo or something. And he always had his little dog with him. And they'd walk every morning. He'd walk up that hill. I don't know until, like he was an old man, but he could sure walk a long ways. And that, so yeah, I remember that. And we'd stand by the hill and wait, and we'd see him come in a little dot. Then he'd get closer and closer, and then we'd go meet him, me and my sister, because he knew he had some candy mints in his pocket for us,
Yeah.
And that was a treat. That's what we looked forward to back in the day. And that we just lived in that little shack of a house, and it's torn down now, but it was just you could probably fit that house in this area where we're sitting right now, in the Elders Lodge. That's how small it was.
Wow.
because my grandparents built it. Grandma and Grandpa, Edna and old Bob.
Yeah.
And then that's when my mom and my dad moved in. So it was a crowded house. We had no electricity, no running water, outhouse, and then 12 of us living in that little shack there. That was
Is it one room?
there was two little tiny bedrooms
Yeah.
and just a space for the kitchen and living room. Like there was no divider. It was just very basic.
Yeah.
And a wood stove.
Wow.
Yeah, so yeah, in the wintertime we had to gather kindling, chop wood, get water. Sometimes we have the water truck come out and then we put out our little sign, need water today. So they'd fill our water barrel and we'd have to cover it up so no mosquitoes or anything could lay eggs in it, eh? So yeah, pretty primitive we lived.
Huh.
But we thought it was normal.
Yep.
You know, we didn't think nothing of it. You know, we didn't have a vehicle. You know, but Grandpa was always worried about the cars coming because they had that old road going through there before they built that other road. It would go by Walter and Charlotte Bear's house, and then there was Dolores and Billy. That was Dolores' husband, eh? Billy.
I can't remember.
Yeah. And so that's, you know, like, but Grandpa would always like, get off the road, quit playing on the road. We'd play on the road because it was so sandy, we could play hopscotch and we could draw it on the road.
Yeah.
You know, but he'd always worry about the cars coming and running us over and that. So so he was always watching us, saying, giving us heck. He was kind of a grumpy old man, as everybody would know. A lot of people know, like my grandfather was very grumpy, but he had a hearty cold. You know, he had to really know him. And he spoke French when he was having a few drinks.
Really?
No, he didn't really.
Oh.
He thought he did.
He thought he did. Right.
He'd pretend he would. He'd pretend he could speak French, but he knew some words, but not all of the words, eh? So yeah, he was quite hilarious when he had a few drinks. Yeah. But I remember my grandmother was, she was the kindergarten teacher at the school.
Oh, was she?
Yeah, Edna, for years. Like she was a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And she used to always go to conferences. Like she'd always go to Saskatoon and stay in that big hotel, that older hotel, the Besbro. Was it the Besbro? That big fancy hotel in Saskatoon.
Yeah.
That old one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
That's the only
one.
one I know.
Yeah. She'd stay there and for her conferences. But yeah, she taught me, and she taught a lot of the kids my age around the kids, older people around my age. Yeah, she was good. And then I would get mad because the kids I'd call her Grandma. But she'd say, don't call me Grandma, you have to call me Miss Edna. Because other kids don't like that. Because then I'd get into a fight with them because they'd call her Grandma. And I'd get mad. Like, that's not your grandma, that's my grandma. Yeah, but I remember my sister, everybody would have to say their name. You know, and then I think there was a constant in her class. And then Diane, my sister Diane, they'd say, and your name, Diane Constant? Your name's not Constant.
Aww.
Yeah, but I remember Grandma's teaching for many years, you know, and I remember her, like she was kind of like a medicine woman. Like she knew what plants to pick, what to eat, what not to eat. She'd always tell us, and when we'd go pick berries, that was her thing, eh? Picking berries in the fall. Like go to the I think it was the island we went to, and go pick cranberries.
Yeah.
Yeah, we used to pick lots of cranberries. We used to fight over who was going to go, and that's so because that was kind of an outing. You wouldn't have to have a nap.
Yeah.
If you can go pick cranberries, I'd rather do that. Or else you have to sit there and pick burrs off of socks and there, the sock bag.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Grandma, she knew a little bit about plants and that, because I remember stepping on a rusty nail. And the next day I wasn't feeling good, and then it was getting worse and worse, and I was getting dizzy. And I noticed there was a line going up, a red line going up my foot, after my ankle, and across my foot. And I thought, you know, it kind of looks like I was getting infected. Here I had sepsis, like a blood poison.
Boy.
And I finally showed my grandma because I started getting fever today. She felt my head, and you didn't have a vehicle back then. I don't know where Mom was. I don't know if she was having another baby or what. You know, it's, you know, back in the day, like big families, you know, birth control, the mother, the husband would have to sign for that, back in the day.
Wow.
Yeah, my dad would never, he was never around to sign for that, so, Yeah, but anyways, Grandma looked at it and she said, "Well, just wait." She goes, and she went and got some plants. She got this little puff ball. You know those little puff balls on the ground? Do you ever? You hardly ever see them anymore. I think there's around. They're like spores, little spore balls,
Mm-hmm.
and I think they're around when there's animals, like lots of fertilized, like the horses. If you have horses, and that you could see, you could find a few of them,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't see them too much anyways. She picked that, and then she made kind of a poultice and put it on my foot, and it just drew out all the poison.
Good.
Yeah, the next day I was feeling a lot better,
Wow.
which is a good thing because I probably could have lost my leg or lost my life,
Yeah.
Yeah, but she was really good at that. And I think she helped deliver babies too
Did she?
back in the day. Yeah, that's before I was born too, and that she was really quite a resourceful woman back in the day. Like she'd sew, like from the flour bag, she'd sew dish towels, or she'd sew us clothes. She even taught me how to sew. She taught me how to bake bread, taught me how to garden, how to can. So you don't see, that's an art now.
It is.
It's, you know what? A lot of these people, when I remember cooking some stuff, and a lot of people said, "What is that?" And I said, it's food that we cook to stretch $1, like hamburger gravy, or and like people. And then I made dumplings, and they didn't know what that was. Or I made rice pudding with leftover rice, because you kind of like had to be inventive, reinvent the meals, because if you had leftovers, you'd have to try to stretch it even farther the next day.
Yeah.
And then so I learned that, and I tried it when I worked at the daycare. I introduced some of that stuff. And they'd kind of look at it, the kids, and like, "Just try it, you might like it." And they tried, they're like, "I like it,"
Yeah.
But yeah, sometimes they eat, most kids eat with their eyes, and if it doesn't look like a chicken McNugget, they don't want it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's the good old days when we were so poor, we didn't even know we were poor. We had everything. We had the backyard that was full of snacks, hazelnuts, Saskatoons, gooseberries, any kind of berry, cranberries, everything.
So have your pick of
Have your
whatever.
pick, and I think that's why we're a lot healthier, because we never had shoes on. Our feet were always touching the soil. I always like to say we're earth children,
Yeah.
because we were outside. We lived off the earth. You were just connected with the earth and your environment, and I think it was just like you could tell when it was going to rain. You could smell it, or you could see the leaves turning. Anything. So that stems back in the day when our people used to migrate from place to place.
Mm-hmm.
So we've lost a lot of that. A lot of people don't. They stay inside now. They don't go out. They don't. They don't do that anymore.
Yeah, like I said before, you have a really good complexion.
Yeah.
Like it's clear, like compared
Yeah.
to mine, and your sister too. Like I know her from seeing her around.
Yeah. Is that
she
Bev, my
has-
older sister?
Diane.
Yeah.
Yeah, really nice
Yeah.
complexions. I'm like,
Yeah.
you guys got good skin.
Yeah, we got our grandmother's skin. Like she was always outside. And I remember when my grandmother passed away, and she was laying there, and then I just looked at her. I said, "She looks like she's just sleeping." Like they didn't even put makeup on her, and she just had that beautiful skin.
Yeah.
But she had a good life, though. She lived it very clean and honest, and with lots of integrity and kindness. Like she was the epitome of an elder, if there ever was one. And then you could ask anybody, and they'd say, "Your grandmother was so kind and so patient," and she was. And I wish I could be a lot like her, but I'm not. I'm more like my other grandmother, who worked hard too, but she had a hard edge to her. I'm more like that. But I got my grandmother's ability to be resourceful, and bake and cook and can and whatnot, and and so. And then my other grandmother didn't do that. Like she was more like a cleaner, or she was always working, working in hotels and that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then my grandfather was, I don't know what his education was. I really don't know if he was educated. I really don't know much about him. He was such a private man. It was hard to get to know. And half the time I was in residential, so I missed out on a lot of contact with relatives here. When that's interrupted, that makes a big deal. That you carry that through the years.
Yeah.
Because you're missing that. You don't have that commodity as other people have with their family. When you have family reunions, you kind of feel like you're looking in. And that's how I feel but I'm trying to overcome that, getting with my family and that, and trying to be with them more. But it's still a struggle.
Yeah.
But hopefully, that I can, that I can, at the end, before my time comes, that I'm able to feel that unit, that wholesome unit with them.
So it's probably from residential school, right?
Yes, it stems from that because I went there for a few years. And ever since when I turned 6, I left, and then I didn't get back till I was 11. So I missed out on a lot. So, and that's both sides of the family. Even when I go to Pasco, the same thing, and a lot of them understand that. They say you can sure tell that you went to residential because you're not, you're unsure of your family.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, it makes a difference when you stay home. It's good to be home with your family, especially First Nation. We really, there's a struggle out there as being First Nation and trying to live in the white world, but that's, your community is where you feel most comfortable. And I noticed that it's getting hard to be comfortable, and because we're losing our young ones to drugs and it's like these people need so much stimulation now that they don't stop to take a breath and open their eyes and look around anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like they don't stop to feel that empathy or that emotion. It just like stimulate phones, technology, and it's hard because I see it all. It's like that's why it's so important to do family stuff. Like say, no, what we're going to do, put down your phones. This is what we're going to do today as a family. Like we're going to go sliding or we're going to go bowling to reconnect.
Yeah.
Sure, you could sit in front of the TV, but you don't have that same family unit because everybody's mind is not there. It's with the show. It's what's on TV.
Mm-hmm.
They're not connected really. So, yeah, I noticed that. So, but I like to see this community get back into stuff like the Powells. That's really nice. We need to have more stuff like that, though.
Mm-hmm.
And more volunteer. A lot of people, I don't mind volunteering. I love to volunteer. Like, oh, hey, I'll bake bread for the bake sale if you need to. I know Gwen used to always get me. She'd say, can you bake some fry bread? We're going to have a bake sale. I'm like, sure, what do you need? So
I know, I miss your fry bread.
Well, just ask me. If you guys are ever going to have a bake sale, let me know. I'll make 100 and you can make $100 out of that. You can sell it for $1 a piece because they're nice and big.
Yeah.
And that's all I'll be baking this weekend.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've learned a lot from a lot of the elders here. Even though I went to residential, I've always respected the elders because they were so knowledgeable.
Mm-hmm.
They could tell you anything. And I just would just be enthralled with their stories. I love to hang around with them. Like a lot of them would say, get out, go outside and play,
Yeah.
when you're underfoot, but you want to sit here and listen to the elders.
Yeah.
And there was nothing wrong with that, But then, because a lot of kids would ask questions, and then I noticed doing that to my son. He'd want to sit around and listen to us, so I'd say, go outside and play. And I thought, you know what? I shouldn't do that. That's how they learn. The storytellers,
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to say that about my dad, because he was really good at enthralling people with his stories. He had polio, so he wasn't able to do a lot of things, But yet, but still he could do a lot of things. He wasn't really. I guess you're only crippled as your mind would allow it,
Mm-hmm.
But he could still do things, but he wanted to be. I think he shortchanged himself, thinking that he was limited, and that kind of made him angry. But then he'd have these stories, and boy, he'd tell people, yeah, I lived with the pygmies, and people would believe him, eh? And that, but back in the day, I bet you he'd be a really good storyteller around the campfire if he was back,
Yeah.
when we were living off the land. And I remember saying that when he passed away, we went to his funeral, and all his cronies were around there. They were, that he used to coffee with every morning. I'd say, my dad, I said, he was a storyteller. I said, boy, he could just enthrall you with the stories and go on and on. I said, he he was very knowledgeable about a lot of things, so he was able to put himself in that his little stories. And I said, back in the day, he would have been one of those elders that sat around and told stories to the kids. I said, we'd call him storyteller. There was a Cree name for that. I said, but today we just call them bullshitters. But they had a good laugh. Eh? But he was like he was a good storyteller, yeah. And that, but my grandfather too was a good storyteller when he had a little bit of hoochie.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I remember us going around. We used to have Walter Bear, my uncle Walter. He used to play the fiddle. Who played the guitar? I can't remember who played the guitar, but Grandma would have a little gathering. Christmas, it was sometimes Christmas, we have Auntie Charlotte and Auntie Jessie, and I remember, oh God, we were young then. I remember Austin and Lyle coming there, and Billy. Like, it was just a big party. Everybody'd be dancing, and and there was punch and drinks and whatever, but it was just a big, it was just a big, happy, good time thing,
Yeah.
It was fun. It was so fun. Even the kids, a lot of people say, well, alcohol, but alcohol was, yeah, people drank, but it was different then. You'd never seen any fighting, or, it was done responsible, and everybody was just, letting down their hair and having a good time, and it was a celebration. Christmas or whatever it was, and everybody was just enjoying themselves. My Uncle Bobby, and I remember Uncle Bobby and Austin and Lyle, they'd all hang out together. They were all very young then. I remember them. They were so young, that I remember I thought they probably had a lot of girls after them. They were very handsome men back in the day. I remember that. I thought, they kind of looked like Elvis Presley in my mind, in my little girl mind. I wonder if they know me Elvis Presley, I used to think.
Yeah.
But I remember them all hanging out and having a good time. My Uncle Bobby would be on the road. He used to drive truck. He always had a big rig parked in the yard. And I remember him coming with a great big sack of corn. He'd take the galvanized tub that we bathed in, and then Mom would get so mad at him. Don't be putting that on the fire. Well, the kids want corn. Because he had no kids. There was not, Mom had kids for both of them. He'd say, well, I don't need kids. And my sister has enough kids to share with me. So those are my kids too, eh?
Yeah.
Because that was our Uncle Boy. Well, I'd say he was our favorite uncle, but yeah, he was. Because, he was so generous and so good to us. He'd take that sack of corn, put it on the fire, and butter, and then he'd say, help yourself, kids. When he come, or else dig in his pocket real deep, and great big handful of change. Here, go to the store. That's when they had that old store, where Jerry Pie, in that area.
Yeah.
There was a little house, and they made that into a store. And that was Evelyn, cripes, who was it? Evelyn and Cecil. Was it Cecil? I can't remember who owned that store, but I remember spending a couple of nights there with her when he would be out for the night. And she'd be scared, so she would always she'd ask Mom if we could go, me and my sister go stay there.
Mm-hmm.
And then I remember sleeping there. But she'd have that old Coke thing that old cooler where you put the bottles of Coke standing up in there.
Yeah.
That old Coke cooler, back in the day. But they didn't have a gas thing, but it was just a little store with bread and, just your little basics,
Yeah.
and cheese, chocolate bars and Coke and candy. And I remember, like I said, Uncle Bob would give us change, and we'd buy 50 cents worth of mixed up candy, and that was like a little sack of candy that went far, so that was like the best in the days, because we used to fight on saying, we have to divvy it up 9 kids. God, that was a lot of kids. You have to okay, like I could see why he gave us a big sack, big change of money, because he always had a pocket full of change,
You saved it for you guys.
Yeah. Well, we'd fight over who's going to carry his bag into the house. Well, that time we were fighting over it, and it opened right up. It was like a little valise or whatever. We had the little, and all of a sudden, it just exploded, and closed off. Hey, but he was such no good nature. You just laugh at us, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, and because I remember Shirley Bear used to live across the road.
Mm-hmm.
All big families. Shirley, Elwyn and Delbert and them.
Yeah.
We all played together. Janet, there's me, Janet, and Diane. And then my sister and Joanne would play together. And my brothers with Donnie and Delbert. And we're all sad. Shirley would look after us while Mom was having a baby, or Mom would look after her kids when she was having a baby or whatever. But I remember going to their house and staying at their place.
That's awesome. Hey,
Yeah.
how people helped out each other back
It
then.
was, like there was just everybody helped everybody. Nobody, you know what? And then people
They don't keep score.
yeah,
That's what it felt like. What I've heard.
yeah,
Nobody
yeah,
keeps score.
yeah. But it was very. You didn't lock your doors either. You know,
Mm-hmm.
the doors were always open, and you just go from house because there were so many kids. Everybody knew everybody.
Yeah.
You just go play. Because I remember me and Albert would always walk to kindergarten together. And I remember, of course, Shirley remembers everything. She always called me Gumby. And that I just thought, and I'd say, why do you call me Gumby? And she goes, because you always have to wear these pants that are just wide-legged. Yeah, so she always called me Gumby. We used to just laugh about that. I haven't heard that in a long time when I came back to the res. She's like, Gumby! And I'm like, oh my God. Shh, don't say that now. It's just like my brother Poo-Poo's, Todd.
Yeah.
Yvonne, Dolores' sister Yvonne, she's deceased now. Little Debbie's mom. We all went to school at SIAS. That's when they built that first it was just a little school there in town. And he went there, and all of a sudden you could hear, Poo-Poos, Poo-Poos. And Todd's like, where's that come from? He's just horrified. And he's like, oh, well, I said, it's Yvonne. And then he runs up, nobody calls me that no more. Because my grandmother called him that. That was it. Because he used to call him a little papoose,
Yeah.
Because he was so dark. And then when you had him bundled up, all you could see his little brown eyes, his dark, dark brown eyes. So my grandmother called him a little papoose, So we always called him Papoose. And then he tried to say, what's your name? He'd go, Poo-Poos. So that's how he got the nickname, Yeah.
That's
Well, it was
cute.
fun, yeah. I know me and Albert, we used to just take our time coming home from school, kindergarten.
Yeah.
He'd say, Shirley, you guys would be just walking real slow, holding hands, counting birds, stopping and looking at rocks. And he said, it took you like a half hour to just walk a few feet. And then, what are you guys taking so long? Oh, we're counting birds. How much did you count? Oh, I don't know. Might be 500 now. We didn't even know how to count to 500. But yeah, it was just really, people just lived. There was no hurry. Take your time and just enjoy life, enjoy nature, enjoy your walk. Now everybody's just all over the place, as you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's even before they had the bridge built. Like, we didn't have this bridge. There was no village.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the chief, the house that the chief, we used to walk to go use the phone, like to phone a cab so we could go to Davis and get groceries.
Wow.
Yeah, that's where everybody went and got groceries was Davis. And I remember Mom coming home with 9 boxes of that pink elephant popcorn. That was like, we got a treat. That was our treat. 9 boxes, So
Wow.
we savored that. That was like a very, very much a treat. And so was ice cream. Because we didn't have a fridge, we couldn't keep ice cream. We couldn't make Jell-O. Because the only time we had Jell-O was in the winter. Because you put it outside.
Yeah.
To let it set. And our meat was always good outside because we dug a hole, put the meat in a tin, and then put it in the ground and put a lid over it so that the animals couldn't get it. That was our meat.
Nice.
Yeah. And then sometimes we'd have rabbits. Sometimes we'd have, when somebody went hunting, they'd drop something off, But back in the Opaskwax, we were back and forth kind of here, there, and they have, sometimes. But I remember living in Opaskwax and we had moose meat. There's lots of wild meat. And that's so because our grandfather had a trap line, so we'd always drop meat off for us. Not so much here. We just had like rabbit and duck in that, But yeah. And that because we eat lots of duck soup, flour soup, or whatever. and that because
See, that's like soul food, the flour
Yeah,
soup.
yeah,
I don't
flour
know.
soup,
Just
yeah.
brings me back.
Yeah, flour soup. That was our grandma, mom used to make that. Because 9 kids, you have to stretch that.
Yeah.
And I remember grandma and mom making 40 loaves of bread a week in
Wow.
that cast iron stove, the wood
Really?
stove. Yeah. The bread was even better in the summer because when it's a warm day, it's a really nice. The rise is really nice.
Yeah.
But I remember grandma putting raisins and she'd give us a little bit of dough. Everybody got a little bit of dough. We make a little dough man and put raisins for eyes and
Yeah.
and then we'd watch it bake and then we'd have our little dough man. Each year she did that to us all the time. Every time we were around, we'd bake. She'd give us a little piece of dough.
Wow.
Yeah, of course ours we sometimes just black drop it and pick it up and still eat it.
Yeah. So it's
It's looking pretty dark.
Yeah. See, there's the thing I noticed about you. You don't waste things.
Yeah.
You stretch it.
Yeah, you don't waste it. Yeah, grandma, plastic bags. Remember when they started doing plastic bags? It used to be paper bags. But when they started having plastic bags, she'd save them and she would make them into strips, and she'd kind of braid them or whatever or knit them and do little rugs.
Nice.
She always was so inventive with and frugal with scraps of stuff that would people throw away.
Yeah.
Wasteful, and that she always saved things and did something with them.
Yeah.
She never ever, hated waste, she hated garbage.
Yeah.
She was, she lived, like I said, she lived a really good, clean life, no regrets. Like she didn't pollute her world,
Yeah.
Some people I see them throwing garbage, I'm like, oh, why are you polluting the world? Throw it in the can or,
Yeah.
or scraps. Compost. Compost. Because, I don't know what they did with garbage back then. Did we have somebody pick it up back then? You know what?
Maybe
I can't
burning
remember.
barrels.
I can't remember, but a lot of time. Oh yeah, you know what? We do a burn pit, a garbage pit, and that's where we'd throw the garbage and then bury it, because we didn't have garbage men back in the day. And then once in a while, Grandpa would burn it just to get rid of the, like cardboard or whatever, eh?
Yeah.
But Grandma would just take all the scraps, like the eggs and the leaves of and just make a compost with that. And usually the scraps was just the packaging of something, Other than that, yeah.
Hmm.
But even with our aerosol cans, they would go into the burning pit, but you had to stay away because it would.
Right.
Yeah. Well, the kids used to I remember lads hanging around there, because he was a little pyromania. He just liked being around fire, eh? I don't know why. My brothers were like that. I think all boys were like that, because if anything that goes boom, it's fun, right? Well, of course it went boom, and one of the cans and the sharpnail went flying and it nicked his ear, so it stung, and you could see blood. Like it wasn't enough to get stitches but he cried like he was dying. So
Right.
yeah, because my mom was chasing him around trying to catch him, but he was running all over the place.
Jeez.
He thought he was dying, so he was running all over. But obviously, if you're dying, you don't run like that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cute because he had just a little bit of blood, and he was just rolling on the ground and everything.
Jeez.
He was always dramatic like that.
Wow.
Yeah, but yeah, that's right. They had the burning pits for the garbage, and that's. Yeah, plus water barrel, the water truck would come around. If you didn't have running water, we didn't have running water. So a lot of times you had counterspace, but no sinks.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you probably wash up in a pail.
Pail or tub or whatever.
Yeah.
We had the galvanized tub. We'd all take turns. It would be first the baby, and then it would and then you'd get fresh water, like you'd haul it from the well,
Yeah.
and then heat up what you can, and then the next person, then just a group of people.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the wintertime, we had to melt snow.
Wow.
Yeah. And we had the old washer, like the old bringer washer.
Yeah.
It was never
Was it electric?
No, you plug it in, but it was just that old wringer with the roller that you put the clothes through to wring.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Of course, you had to put your arm through. Every kid did. Let me see what happens if I put
Yeah,
my
it
arm
was-
in there. Ouch.
I had a cousin who did that. Yeah.
Well, I put a newspaper through that, and Mom put her clothes through, and there was print all over it. She
Oh.
never mad. She was mad at me. Who did is. I'm not saying anything. We're just like looking all at each other. Yeah, but it was hard to, like, if you had diapers, and everybody had diapers, there was no Pampers. That was that was the crappy job. You had to scrape the diapers. Oh my
Yeah.
God. You know, if you, like, like, a lot of them were, like, you had a lot of babies, so if you had to, like, get on the pot right now,
Yeah.
you had to potty train these kids early. There was no baby in her, like, the time is of essence. The next kid's gonna go sit on that little potty, so you have to learn to your bathroom. You have to be potty trained pretty early. It's not like now we just let them, like we let them, well, baby our kids nowadays. We turn them into little softies, and that we don't allow them.
Because we have everything convenient.
Yes.
But back then, doing those Pampers.
Yeah, but let's say if we have a power surge and everything cuts out and you don't have this and you don't have that, there's going to be a lot of worried people. But I'm okay because I know how to survive.
Yeah.
I know. Well, I'm not too worried because I know how to live without power. Did it before.
Yeah.
I could do it again. Yeah. But you can see a lot of people in a panic there, like, oh my God, what are we going to do? We might have to sit around and look at each other and talk.
Yeah, something's very foreign today.
Yeah, but it's maybe we should get that, get back into basics, get really back into basics, and do that with a lot of families. Have a family, do a portage or a nature, like go live in the woods for a bit and just rely on each other. I know they say that's camping, but it's a different thing when you really, like a survival thing,
Yeah.
Like, don't bring your trailer and your, like your fancy stuff and that.
Yeah.
Just bring the basic and say, okay, let's see how it is to live off the land.
It'd be very hard.
Yeah, they'd like go out to the island and just pretend you're away, and then you have to live off. I bet you'd appreciate what you have more, but then you'd appreciate that you learned that.
Yeah.
I would think that would be a capital idea for the school to take the kids out and say, we're going to do some survival training. Because we might need that.
Yeah.
You never know.
But the island is haunted.
Oh, yay!
So I've heard.
Well, that's what I heard. This guy, he was doing he canoed from, I think it was Edmonton or BC, but anyways, he canoed all the way down here. He pulled up and he's seen, kind of seen this little dock there. Pulled up and he was a young guy. This was in 2008, I think, and I was working at the health center, and Ronaldo was doing something, but she wanted to do a little news piece with him because she heard that he was a bear hunter. He was from BC and kind of lived off the land.
Yeah.
So we went and met him, and we were asking him questions. She was writing down when he was talking, and he said, when I first pulled up here, he said, it was creepy. He said it felt really creeped out. He said, because I walked and I seen this. He said, hello. He thought I'd see people. He said, didn't see any people. He thought, it looked like there was a campers there. He said, but it was just, he just felt really, he said it felt really off, and that. He says, usually I don't feel that creeped out. But he did stay a couple of nights and that. But yeah, he said he found it a little bit creepy. He had his dog with him too, so.
So he slept out there?
Yeah, he had his canoe. Okay,
Yeah.
He couldn't, so we brought him water and a bannock and that, and he was very appreciative. He's told the store was there. We took him to the store and grabbed some supplies and that, and stayed. And then he got back on his canoe and took off.
Wow, that's exciting enough.
Yeah. Well, he felt safe because he had his dog.
Yeah.
So, but he had the partiers down there too. So.
Oh. Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, it was like they were friendly enough, But he said they didn't bother him. They just, they were nice enough, I guess. So, yeah.
Awesome. So, can you explain the history of Muscatine in your own words?
The history of Muscatine? Well, I used to know it as John Smith Reserve back in the day. And I didn't know the history then, but now I know that it was two brothers, John, like with James Smith and John Smith were brothers, and they couldn't agree on anything, and they ended up separating. So that's why there was we were supposed to be connected as two reserves. But you know what? I don't know about that because I find James Smith more traditional.
Yep.
And I find that we're more okay,
Colonized?
yeah.
Maybe?
Yeah, that's the word. I didn't want to say it, but okay. Because that's what they did to me in residential was try to colonize me. And I find maybe that's why I was drawn to this reserve because I was colonized and I felt, because I'd go to my reserve and everybody spoke Cree. And sometimes they were a little mean to you if you didn't speak Cree. And plus, at the student residence, a lot of them spoke different. Like there's a different Cree, different dialects there.
Yeah.
And I learned a lot of different dialects because I was so young, and you pick up that real fast. Especially these kids, they don't know any English.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I found that, but yet I felt different too because I felt more Indian than them when I came to this reserve. You know, but and then being there for a while, I turned into a colonized Indian, an urban Indian, I guess you could say, because I didn't live on the reserve, I lived in town. And that's so, but yeah, that's as far as I know. I find that I don't know. Yeah, I find it more colonized too, and I don't know if we ever get out of that.
It's hard.
Yeah,
It's hard.
you know, because everybody it's ingrained in you now, you know, and that because it's just like my auntie Eleanor. That's my grandmother's sister. She was an author. Eleanor Brass, she wrote that book, I Walk in Two Worlds. And that, so I imagine a bunch of the elders, the people that are older than me remember her. Because she taught at the University of Regina.
Mm-hmm.
And then she did a lot for the First Nation women.
Yeah.
You know, she was really for the First Nation women and getting them educated and that, so yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, the education is very strong on my side of the family. The side of the family of education is very, you know, my sister's a teacher. She was a special ed teacher. Well, she's retired now, but she's teaching at the University of Buntap. They call it Buntap, but yeah, she's teaching the teachers like some of the skills of how to go into a classroom, First Nation classroom, and that.
Right.
Yeah, but she's from Wapasco because, like, I transferred. My son's from here. My sister, is it my sister? Yeah, my sister. But some of my brothers are still from Wapasco. Todd's from here. My little brother, because he grew up here. That's my brother Walter. He's from here. Yeah, but a lot of my other brothers, they're from Wapasco. So yeah, my kind of split. We're kind of split, you know. So so we're not as a big family as you guys. You got everybody on the reserve. Whereas I only have my brother, and I just feel really alienated sometimes. So I don't have that family unit where everybody goes, oh, I'm going to go here and meet up with the family. And I'm just like, to me, even though I'm related, they're more acquaintances than family.
Right.
Yeah, so it's different, you know, it's different. But yeah, but as far as I'm getting off the subject here, of course, as I usually do. That's as far as I know about James Smith and John Smith. And I don't know where Muscadet came in, why they named it Muscadet, who named it Muscadet. Do you know?
I haven't a clue.
See, that's how much we know. But I'd like to know that. See,
Yeah.
That's an interesting question.
Because John Smith was fine.
Yeah, because
Mhm.
somebody said John Smith, James Smith, yeah. Because everybody say, which reserve you from? I'd say John Smith. That's what I knew as a young girl.
Yep.
And all of a sudden it was Muscadet. Where's Muscadet? And you're like, oh, this is Muscadet. Oh, okay.
Maybe that's part of that colonization.
Yep, that's right.
Well, because we have somebody had said we have the highway going through us now. It was usually get to town, so it was more, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Versus over there where they're all together and you don't have outside influences like town or Bonaire or Sturgeon Lake.
Yeah.
Muscadet is...
Yeah.
I don't even know where Muscadet is type in that, what you were speaking about.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where they got that name. I know that they're probably trying to take back their tradition, you know, but I don't know if they'd be able to because we've got a lot of people in power that got that mindset of colonization, you know.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. And because I'm from Opaskwayak, everybody's so traditional. And I also have family in Beardy's too. And they're very traditional. They're very traditional.
Yeah.
Like when we buried my auntie, Christine, she's a gamble, and she like we had the drummers and the wailers and like the singers,
Yeah.
and then they all drummed to the burial ground, and everybody took a shovel and buried her, took a turn, and that's how they do it. That's how they do it in El Paso. Yeah, but they don't do that here.
Yeah.
We bury our own. We don't pay anybody. We just everybody picks up a shovel and like buries them.
See, that's how we did it with my grandma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like that. That's how traditional it was. The First Nation people would say everybody picks up puts some dirt on them and buries them. Takes a part in that. That's how we did that with my dad, too. You know, when he passed away. Well, both my parents are gone now, so
Yeah.
basically we're the last of. We're next. We're next to get buried on our journey. We're next to go on our journey.
Yeah.
You know, like maybe I'm lucky to have. I'm hoping that I have 25 years. You know, but then again, I don't know the way this world's going. Maybe not. I don't know. You know, because it's kind of scary now.
It is.
It is. Like back in the good old days. So I wonder if my grandparents thought of that. Well, it's kind of scary, you know, like how this future is going. She probably thought the same thing.
Yep.
You know, and that because it's going too fast, and there's the way the government is, and just. But then again, that's probably they're growing up with that. So to them, they probably don't think that.
Right.
It's progression.
Mm-hmm.
And now, so who knows?
So our last question here. What important message do you want to share with our future generations about education?
Well, you know what? Education is very important. I didn't have any education until I went back to school. I had my son when I just turned 17, and I wasn't educated, and I found it very a struggle. And I thought, I have to get back to school because I only had a grade 7 education. That's it. You know, I had such a life of turmoil and foster homes and that. So to me, I was always running. I was always running from authorities and running from this and that. Don't tell me what to do. I grew up with the student resident. Everybody telling me what to do. So I thought I was really smart, thinking that I could just cut it off and I could do whatever I want.
Right.
And I realized after I had my baby, I'm like, what am I going to teach him? I went back to school, got my education, and I realized education is very powerful. It could take you a long way. It gives you the power to do what you want to do, to reach your goals. People can take a lot of things away from you, but they can't take away your education. And that's what gets you through. So important, get your education. That's the best thing you can do for yourself. That's all I got to say on that.
Awesome.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
I appreciate this interview.